Hello everyone and welcome to Overheads. Today we'll be going over the X-Y, ORTF and spaced pair setups. So we're starting off with the X and Y configuration. We're using AKG C451B pencil condenser microphones. We're using this configuration and a small diaphragm microphone so that we're picking up the higher frequencies of the kit. This configuration will give us a lot of cymbals, so like ride, crashes and whatever, and a lot of hi-hat. The small diaphragm microphone doesn't really pick up the bass frequencies, so we won't get any kick drum or toms really, but we should still get some crack of the snare. When you set up these microphones, you want them to reach about a 45-degree angle above the kick drum. This will give us the best image of the cymbals whilst completely avoiding the kick drum and most of the toms. Moving on to our ORTF configuration. We're still using the C451Bs so that we're not getting those low muddy frequencies from the bass drum and our cymbals are staying crispy. Because of that, this configuration is similar to the X and Y because we're still targeting those similar frequencies, but the ends of our microphones are meeting instead of our capsules, and you'll see that later. With this configuration, we'll get slightly more ride cymbals and hi-hats purely because they're faced more towards the kit, whereas X and Y is more specialized for your crash, splash and other cymbals. Moving on to my personal favourite, the spaced pair. For this configuration, we'll be using a larger diaphragm microphone, the AKG C414. We're using this mic because this configuration, we're not just getting a recording of the cymbals, we're capturing a whole image of the kit. This configuration works best in a treated room because if you're using it in an untreated room, you might get some muddy lower standing waves, and that'll just completely ruin your recording. When you're setting up this configuration, you want one of your microphones to be placed above your hi-hat, snare and left crash cymbal. You'll see in a few seconds that I then use a jack lead to gauge the distance from the snare to my first mic. This is so that I can place the other microphone an equal distance away from my snare. If you don't do this, you might end up with one of your overheads capturing too much cymbal or too much snare, and your mix will sound unbalanced and it might feel like it's swaying too far to the right or too far to the left. As well as that, you might get some phase cancellation issues from your cymbals or snare if your mics are two separate distances apart. When I do this configuration, I make sure that my mics are parallel to the floor and facing directly downwards on the kit. This is so that I'm not getting too much of one side of the kit or too much of the other side of the kit, and the microphone is capturing directly what's below it. Here you can see that I'm adjusting the spacings of my microphones, so this is so I don't get too much snare or too much cymbals in either one of them. This is what it looks like when it's finished on the kit. We can see that it's just covering the whole area of the kit and capturing a full image of the cymbals and the snare. And those are 3 ways to set up overheads when you're recording your drum kit.